Now on a Tuesday morning, and if it's Tuesday during hurricane season, it's time to track the tropics. Today's special edition, though, tracking the landfall of Melissa. I'm meteorologist Eric Burris.
And in Savannah, Georgia, I'm WJCL 22 Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Nelson.
So the Hurricane Center just pushed their 10 a.m. update, Jeremy. Winds are at 185 miles an hour, down to 892 millibars. This is a hurricane for the record books and all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and let's see here. The pressure right now, you said 892, so that would tie it at the moment for third strongest pressure wise in the Atlantic Basin in recorded history. And that 10 a.m. advisory, I'll let you talk right now, and I can kind of scan through here. I'm sort of curious to see if they included any wind gusts in here.
Yeah, at the moment, we know that the problem is we don't have live radar data here, right? So we can't bring you that radar imagery. What we can do, though, is we can bring you the satellite data, and this satellite data is updating every single minute. So what the Hurricane Center said is the catastrophic winds are moving onshore to southern Jamaica, and they highlighted this is the last chance to protect your life. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. Take cover now. Failure to adequately shelter may result in serious injury and loss of life. Residents in Jamaica that experience the eye should not leave their shelter as winds will rapidly increase within the backside of the eye wall. So the Hurricane Hunter aircraft finds that Melissa continues to strengthen, maximum sustained winds of 185. The pressure has fallen to 892 based on NOAA and Hurricane Hunter data. So they waited for that 892 until they got that NOAA plane to get in there. So now both aircraft independently verified that wind speed, Jeremy.
Yeah, that is, again, this will be a historic storm, the strongest hurricane to ever make landfall on Jamaica. And there's so many aspects to this. I know obviously the wind gets the attention, which it should. And we'll get an update at 11 a.m. But the corridor of strongest winds, it looked like extended out maybe about 30 miles or 30 miles from that.
Right.
And then obviously the hurricane force wind gusts a little bit farther than that. But looking at this right now, I can't even imagine on that south coast of
Yep.
Jamaica the storm surge that is barreling towards that coastal areas right now.
And then, on top of the storm surge, it's the idea of this wind. I mean, you cannot it's tough to fathom wind like this. It's tough to imagine what that would be like. Um, it's
I
really
mean, I can't even imagine it because last year at my house, I had a wind gust during Helene of around 80 miles per hour.
yeah,
And then you more than double that. And I was like, the 80 was like kind of shaking the house around.
right.
And this is why in their wording they say catastrophic, unsurvivable. This is definitely a pretty drastic situation where those corridor of strongest winds travel.
Right. So what I'm going to do is, through this Tracking the Tropics broadcast, we're going to be monitoring the recon missions and see what's doing. So both and this is sloppy and it's not designed to be beautiful, but it's designed to give us the data. So both the blue line and the red line, the blue is the NOAA P3 Orion out of Lakeland, Florida. The red, that's the Air Force C-130 out of Keesler Air Force Base, and both read 892. They then upgraded it to 892. So based on that, we got the upgrade. They're both circling back around and are going to try and do another core punch, right? To be able to see if it's gotten any stronger. Because as they continue to survey, they're going to be wanting to know second by second how this plays out right up to landfall.
And I know you know the inner workings of aircraft. You're a pilot yourself. Could you imagine being the pilot of one of those C-130s flying in these type of missions with this extreme turbulence, probably not being able to see one thing anywhere in the sky unless you're in the actual eye?
Right, right. I will say that when I've talked to folks that do these missions, it's remarkable. The pilots steer the thing. They actually have somebody else running the throttles because they have to so drastically make power changes in order to maintain altitude. That to me is remarkable. And, you know, that is a testament to the kind of condition that these folks end up going through.
Yeah, and I think once they get up in that storm, I have not flown one of the missions. I've been in the aircraft before when they're on
Yeah.
land multiple times, but I assume they are all very strapped in with the amount of
Yeah.
altitude changes that are drastic during
Oh, yeah.
these missions. No one could probably even really get up and walk around.
No, no, no. Not when you're making a core punch. You just can't, it's not in the realm of safety at all. So, no, you can't do that sort of thing. So, you know, they know what they're doing. They're doing, and may I add, they're doing all of this without getting paid, right?
Yeah.
But there's Black River. Landfall is going to be very near Black River, Jamaica, and that's going to be among the worst of the weather is happening right now. That deeper red, that stadium effect, that's the eye wall coming ashore, and that is right now the incredible weather happening in that part of the world.
Yeah, I haven't been to the south coast of Jamaica before. I've been more west and kind of northwest, but I was looking at some of the population areas on that southern coast or southwest area, and there's a location called Savannah Lamar
Uh,
that had about 22, 23,000 people there that is right up on the coast. And that is likely an area right now that, as you mentioned, seeing some of those extreme winds. They're in a little bit of almost like a bay, concave area there of land where that water could just pool up.
yeah,
Also, with Jamaica, you get pretty big elevation changes when you start going inland. So, as we saw during Helene, when those winds went across parts of the Appalachians, we had those pretty high wind gusts. Well, think about this now, where you have a major hurricane and it gets inland a little bit, you start having those elevation changes really quick
right.
on this island. And it'll be curious if there's any weather instruments out there that survive this, if we ever get some actual measured data from this.
Well, I think that that's another reason why the hurricane hunters are just getting in there as much as they can, right? Because they also know once it comes ashore, they're not going to be able to get great data. There are two METAR sites that I've got access to, and frankly, they have been less than helpful showing us. I'll pop them up here. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
You,
I
you'll,
think
you'll,
I know earlier the National Hurricane Center said Kingston maybe around 59 miles per hour. That's about 2 hours old.
yep,
Montego Bay was somewhere 50 to 54, I
right.
believe.
That's all I got. I got 47, gusting to 47 right now in Kingston. That's the extent of
Okay.
it. So,
But
so
I think you showing that is a good example that people that are just maybe getting little snippets or bits and pieces off social media or whatever, which is totally fine, but they're thinking that these 180-mile-an-hour winds are over the entire island.
right.
They're not. So Kingston, pretty far to the east
Yep,
of the eye, maybe they end up getting a hurricane force wind gust around maybe 70, 75, somewhere in there,
right.
but they're not going to get into that corridor where it's probably 140 mile per hour winds or a little bit higher.
Well, and I would also add, like there were people that were online posting things like, the island will be catastrophically devastated and all of these other buzzwords.
Yeah.
And it's like that, it's not going to work that way. Um,
Yeah. Well, yes. And obviously, we know, and we're speaking to the island as a whole, parts of it, I don't, the damage is probably going to take years to recover from
yes.
where this goes directly across the island. So,
Yes.
no good scenarios here. But hopefully this is it moves slow enough that anyone that was in those areas, maybe they had a different part of the island that they could get to.
Right. I'm just trying, I'm dealing with a technical issue over here while we're chatting, but yeah, yeah, these next few
So,
hours are going to be terrible for Jamaica. By the time it gets to Montego Bay, it will be weaker, but that's also the vital artery. That's the airport there, right?
mhm.
So the question then comes in, how long does it take for that to be able to operate again and thus get support in and people to help in? Because there, remember, like here in the United States, we've got such a different perspective because you drive, we've power crews line up across a state border
Mhm.
before a hurricane hits. They're on an island and they don't have the kind of support like we do with having a federal response they're on their own down there. Now, they're going to depend on other countries certainly to help, but it's going to take time to get that machine going, and that is my greatest concern.
Yeah, so I think is talking about airports down there. So obviously Montego Bay, that one is going to take kind of the brunt of
Right.
this storm. That's a big airport for tourists. Then Kingston has their own airport, so that one could at least not sustain a lot of damage. Or I don't know the elevation with it. They'll likely have some storm surge there, but that would be an area that immediately relief could start coming into, and then hopefully get that to other parts of the island.
I'm gonna look while we're having this conversation. I'm gonna look at the airport layouts there. I'm just curious. You had mentioned so I see Kingston. Their runway is 8,900 feet long. So okay, all right, they can handle 150 feet wide, almost 9,000 feet long. So Kingston can handle, Kingston can handle some aircraft. So all right, that makes me feel better. That makes me feel better. Just in looking around and seeing and there are some smaller runways, very small, but yeah. So all right, so Kingston's got a runway that can at least handle that. So at least there's that.
Yeah. So, do you have the? Let's take a look at the track then.
Yeah,
Uh, if you do have that, and we
yeah. You're
can
just gonna have to
because
give me a couple seconds here to
yep.
get that dialed up.
So this will be passing over Jamaica today. Obviously, that's where it will be the strongest. But then another landfall for Cuba, and then we're looking kind of central southern Bahamas as the storm starts to
Hmm?
weaken just a bit, but still a hurricane, and then some of those other islands in there, and then not even to mention we haven't really talked about this the amount of rain that could get dumped out of the
Right,
system.
right.
Parts of Jamaica, we're looking at 20 inches or more of rain, so that's obviously a flash flooding concern. So really, the three aspects are too much rain, um, historic winds with this landfall, and then the storm surge. I haven't heard. I mean, obviously, I've seen the storm surge graphics, but I feel like if there's any video of that storm
Yeah.
surge, it's going to be crazy storm surge.
We've got some cameras that we have access to from Sea Jamaica, and they've posted them online. The problem is that they're not positioned in those spots that are expecting the significant impacts. And so
Right.
that's the struggle is we don't have those types of cameras. I do want to pop back up while we're just chatting. I want to pop up the recon and see if they're going back in. All right, so both of them are kind of circling around, so it looks like they're going to probably make one more core punch before landfall. That's
So
what
it
my
look,
guess is.
and then I did see one of the hurricane hunters that I've met on one of the hurricane awareness tours that was posting on X that he was starting to get concerned because the aircraft was circling for about 20 minutes in the eye. And he said, and then he was like, good, start to see motion again, because he was like, sometimes you get in there and you have to find a way out. And there's really no good routes out.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been on one, right? But like in my mind, the pilot in my brain is like, all right, well, absolute worst case, theoretically, they could circle, gain altitude, and then overfly it.
Right.
But that
Yep.
and in my mind, that in practice, I don't know that that's real. That's just me kind of thinking. But yeah, when you get a storm that is continuing to deepen at the power that this one is. Um, the turbulence, the updrafts and downdrafts have to be just so severe. So this is unfortunately going to be one of those storms that will be for the record books and for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. And it sounds like also within that eye structure, right around it, the eye wall, there's just a crazy amount of lightning as well.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that the aircraft encounters, along with the wind and everything else in there. But the views yesterday from the hurricane hunters inside the eye were dramatic,
Right. Right. Yes.
with the
Well,
stadium effect and just
and you're talking about lightning, right? Lightning is also very indicative of a developing or strengthening tropical cyclone, right? So that shows that it's continuing as mind-numbing as it is. That shows that it's continuing to get stronger right up to landfall. It did not undergo a single eye wall replacement cycle. It pulsed itself up while maintaining its eye just as it developed it the first time. That is a remarkable feat, truth be told.
It is, and maybe again, don't know the exact answer, but maybe because just it was moving so slow,
Yeah,
and then it was a major hurricane, able to maintain. It was over some of the warmest water that we have in the Caribbean right now. So it just had perfect conditions, and that's why it's really been able to maintain this um, record intensity.
that makes sense. That makes sense, right? That makes sense. It's just
If you
painful.
think back to Dorian, remember
Right.
how that one was, it was all either stationary or moving a couple miles an hour, but that one really maintained its intensity.
Right.
I can't remember. I'm sure it had some eye wall replacement cycles,
Sure.
or, but that one, as it moved across the Bahamas, I just remember some of the images that basically looked like this.
Yeah, what you're right. You're right. And this is I mean this is the same kind of a storm that Wilma was right at its peak, okay? And
Hmm.
so Wilma, the deepest, lowest pressure on record for a tropical system, and that was it 880
For which one?
for Hurricane Wilma back in '05.
I think what I saw was 882.
Oh,
Does that sound right?
882. No, that's correct. 882. So we're 10 millibars above that, which is remarkable.
Hmm. And then after that, on the list I'm looking at here was Gilbert, and then the Labor Day 1935 with 892
Yeah.
millibars. And then you said this one's at what now? Eight.
It's at 892.
Okay, so tied for third in terms of pressure in the Atlantic Basin.
So, and to add to it, if you use the Dvorak satellite technique, it would be it would be at about 888. So that we're at 892 red, but Dvorak satellite gives an 888 millibar pressure. So very close to what they read. It's just something else. Yeah.
Hmm.
And Priscilla says all of those factors are not a good combination. No, none of this is good. None of this is
Right.
good.
No. While we're still on here, if anyone that's watching us would happen to have any friends or family that are on Jamaica, live there, and you happen to talk to them, drop a comment below. Let us know kind of how they're doing or what they're
Yeah.
doing to ride the storm out.
Yeah.
Um, I really would assume, though, if people were trying to get away from this, they went from the west side of the island. Hopefully,
Yep.
they had some friends on the east side, which um, obviously is going to be impacted. It is being impacted right now, but the at least the winds are going to be a lot less on that far east side.
Well, and when I was watching cameras this morning, there were a lot of people still walking around. And when I was doing my coffee talk, one of the things that the people were saying was they're not, it's like you're not going to force people to evacuate, right? You're opening up,
Hmm.
they said, folks in coffee talk, it said that they opened up something like 800 different shelters, but there weren't a ton of people in them. So it's a struggle. You can't force people to seek shelter, but we know that this is a western half of the island kind of an event. And you just hope, like you said, that people went to the eastern side where there is more terrain, though. So you get into mudslides, and it's so difficult,
Right.
right?
Yeah, it's tricky, and there's all kinds of trees. It's very tropical, lush down there. So even you start getting winds, probably 45, 50 plus miles per hour, you're going to have trees across roads, and um, I'm sure there'll be almost entire island-wide power outages
Yeah,
there. I'm
yeah.
sure the western half of the island, I would assume right now is probably already starting to see that occur.
Ugh, man, oh man, it's something else.
Yeah,
I'm just reading some of the different all-time eye wall drops on 219 instantaneous wind above the surface with a mean value of 188 knots in the lowest 150 meters, roughly supporting the estimated 1 minute mean surface wind of 185 miles an hour. So it drops on basically right 185 at the surface just before
okay.
splashdown.
Wow.
Yeah.
One. Yep. Okay.
Now, now, of course, as this comes in, you add friction from land, from terrain, from buildings. So that's going to be lower. And that's also why, when people are posting that this is going to be 200-mile-per-hour winds, maybe out over water, but once you bring it inland, no matter what, you're not going to get 200-mile-per-hour winds. A, thank God, but B,
Right.
185 is terrible. Even if that 185, once it comes ashore, cuts down to 170,
Hmm.
75, that's still just mind-bending wind.
Right. And this still is not really moving very fast. It is expected to pick up some forward speed, but really once it crosses Jamaica. So initially, some of these stronger winds are going to be over locations maybe a little bit longer, just due to the slow forward speed of this.
Sure, yeah.
Once it gets to Cuba, central southern Bahamas area, weakening, it does start to pick up forward speed. But right now, I think what 7 miles an hour is it
That's it, right.
for the
And
movement.
it's originally was expected to come in around 8, 9 o'clock this morning Eastern time. That's obviously it's
Hmm.
10:22 right now, and it still has not made landfall. So it's going to be a little while for it to do its thing. But Tammy mentions how big is that thing? It's all about perspective, right? Like that eye is 10 miles wide. Hurricane force winds 74 miles an hour or greater. That is 30 miles. So when you think about it, you're not talking about the entire island even getting hurricane force winds. It's going to
Hmm.
be a very narrow area that has the absolutely awful, awful, awful reading. Ah,
Right. And for people that are familiar or traveled to Jamaica, those some of the tourist areas, Montego Bay and Negril, those are on that western side of the island. So we are expecting some impacts there. And you were showing earlier, it kind of looks like the eye will approach Montego Bay or get pretty close to it once it crosses to
it
that north
is.
side of the
Yeah,
island.
yeah. It will be a touch weaker, of course, as it's crossing
Hmm.
the island, but it's still, they're going to take whatever the brunt is at that point. So, yeah. So we're waiting at this point. Landfall is called when basically the center of the eye makes its way ashore, and that eye wall is now just starting. So we're still a little ways away from actual landfall. But man, oh man, is this going to be a terrible, terrible landfall for the folks that live there.
Yeah, and to give people in that update that came in at the top of the hour, they said it was 45 miles south southeast of Negril. And let's see here, in terms of Cuba, it's still over 250 miles southwest of there.
And it's expected to
Um,
cross Cuba as a Category 4 storm and then eventually work into the Bahamas as a Category 2 storm.
okay. Yeah. So I saw yesterday already parts of like Bahamas down towards Turks. They were getting additional aircraft in there to get any tourists out of there
Yep,
that were on the islands or even people that live there that wanted to leave. So I know the airlines are really trying to help get people in the path of this out of there to safety. But right now, anyone that's on Jamaica hopefully is sheltered where they need to be.
that's all you can do at this point is just hope that they're set up for it as best as they can. A lot of people talk now. I was in Jamaica as a kid, so you've been much more recently, correct?
I mean, it was like 20 years ago, but
Talk,
do you
talk
know the
about
lay of the land out there?
talk about the buildings, how they are put together. Because I've only seen on the cameras here. It seems like some buildings are. I mean, it seems like a lot of concrete, right? But
Yeah,
talk about that if you don't
I
mind.
think I think the some of the resorts, yes, are much better built. Obviously, just
Right,
regular people. Homes may not be as well built, but um, it's probably like in coastal areas around here, you have structures that are going to fare much better during a hurricane, and
right,
others that maybe if it's an older structure doesn't quite have the building codes up to our standards here in the U.S. isn't going to
right,
fare as well. So.
right.
But even you look at major hurricanes that have made landfall here. Let's just think of Michael. I mean, even about the best built structure had a lot of damage.
Right. So Belua says we've experienced 90-mile-per-hour gusts in Ormond and decided that's our limit and tolerance for not evacuating. I can't fathom what these folks are going to experience.
Yes. So about, do you remember how wide when Michael made landfall in Florida? How wide some of the winds were with that? That
I
was
don't.
probably maybe similar.
Yeah, I
Where it
don't.
went out maybe about like 20, 30 miles, something like that.
Yeah, I
The
don't. I
cor
don't.
the corridor of those stronger winds is that pushed across.
Yeah. Looking, it looks like both missions may be exiting. Do you think, I mean, maybe Noah can get another push, but it looks like they may both be exiting the storm at this point.
I would say they got the data they needed, and
Yep.
now they're going to possibly just it's the eye wall or the it looks like the northeastern eye is almost to land now. The
Yes.
very outer edge of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have that zoomed in view of the eye and see if it's kind of touching land?
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least at least on satellite, looks like
This is what I got.
it's pretty much the the eye wall to the eye is kind of right on the land now, right
Yep.
there.
It's the absolute mind-numbing weather is coming into Black River right now.
Right. And then those areas just east, that has to be just a crazy amount of storm surge.
Yeah, yeah, from Bull Savannah over
Mm.
through Mandeville, that kind of that corridor, that stretch of land, and I've never, as an adult, I've never been there, but so I can't speak to the terrain, but I could say that this is going to be an area here that is just going to be touched forever after this storm system because
Mhm.
it's moving sluggish enough. It's so powerful. One of the strongest landfall. I mean, think about it. This is one of the strongest landfalls ever in the Atlantic basin. Period. Paragraph. End of story.
Mhm. And this is also the third category 5 we've had this season.
Right.
And we were fourth major, and we were talking about every Tuesday when we would have these strong hurricanes this season about how we were threading the needle because the other three avoided land,
Right.
and we were very thankful for that. And now um, this one is going to make multiple landfalls.
Uh, it this is, there's correspondence, there's storm chasers that are down there. I don't I I can't imagine choosing to go into the path of something like this.
No,
And for the
no.
folks that just didn't have the means to get out, I just hope that they had the means to go find someplace. And we always talk about when it comes to hurricanes, you hide from wind and you run from water. So those folks that live on that southern tip there, Bull Savannah, Black River, right down around Mandeville, I just hope that whatever their means were, that somebody was able to get as many people as they could to safety. Because this next hour to 2, 3 hours time is just, it is, they are going to see some of the worst weather that this planet is able to provide.
Yes, yes. Again, anyone just joining us, the pressure down to 892, which ties for the third lowest pressure in the Atlantic basin. The winds, as of last check, the National Hurricane Center had those up to 185 miles per hour.
Yep.
And maybe they are pausing the some of the drop sounds until this does cross over Jamaica now.
So the last drop sonde read 172 knots at the surface in what would be about the eye. I mean, 100, I mean, that's wild. That is wild, wild data.
Yes, it is.
Cam says
Um,
200-mile-per-hour wind gusts that you said weren't going to happen. I would add, Cam, again, people are not going to get 200-mile-per-hour sustained winds on the island. That's not going to happen.
no,
That's what I
no,
was saying.
and these were still over open sea,
Correct.
fortunately. So another great site that I look at, I went to University of Wisconsin, and they have Center for Satellite there, UW Madison Sims.
Yeah,
A lot of people may not know about it, but they're posting some images and they're showing the lightning around the eye right now, which
right.
is just prolific.
Yeah. Lightning, of course, meaning that it continues to pulse. I mean, this is developing itself better and better with every passing minute, right up to landfall. Now, somebody mentioned, and Jeremy, I think it's worth us chatting about. Somebody said this is a big key to next year's hurricane forecast.
Yeah, I mean, we can mention it. We're taking notes right now. I would say, I mean, obviously, this is in the new part of the pattern. This is something we will watch. So what we'll really watch, obviously, we're monitoring it right now, but I would say maybe we get another 40 to 60 days down the road and then another 40 to 60 and kind
Right.
of try to figure out if we see a low pressure in this same part of the Caribbean. But yes, this will also be tricky because this is such a long lived tropical system that did not really move a whole lot. So it's covering a lot of days now, also.
Yeah, yeah. So Julie's asking, are there tornadoes within this one? I'm sure there are.
Right.
The government of Jamaica has a live radar. I believe it's the exact same live radar that we have at WESH, but the problem is that their internet has kind of shut off my access to it. So I was able to tap into it for a little while, can't really get it anymore. So to that point, I don't have the ability to see if there's anything rotating. I
I think
know. You
if
go
there
ahead.
were tornadoes, there's probably like on that more the eastern
Yeah.
side
Oh
where
yeah.
you're rotating in those the outer bands,
Oh
the
yeah,
feeder
yeah,
bands.
yeah. That right front quadrant is absolutely where that is. Chris is asking any chance that it hits Wilma pressure. It seems like the hurricane hunters have packed it up and are done for the moment. Actually, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Air Force is on their way out. NOAA looks like they did one hit, and then they're coming around Jamaica. So
Yeah. I
it
mean,
looks
in all
like,
honesty, I think they have the data they need. It's
yeah,
about to move over land,
right.
and also they have to consider their own safety, I think.
Sure, sure. So they did the one hit. They were able to see it. They'll probably go refuel, and another crew will come out and get measurements for the post Jamaica pass, and they'll probably try and get some data right before it comes into Cuba, would be my guess.
Yeah, and I think now the rest of today will just be monitoring once it crosses Jamaica. What does it look like once it emerges back over water? Does it dramatically
Right,
weaken?
right,
Is it still kind of on that category 4 range?
right.
What will it look like when it heads to Cuba and then eventually towards parts of the Bahamas?
Yeah. So, all right. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We'll be waiting for landfall here these next, next couple of hours. It's slow and it's painfully slow. So, Jeremy, you and I will be posting as that happens. But for now, it's just keeping the folks in Jamaica in our thoughts, I think is where we're at.
Yeah, anyone that stayed down there again, if you have friends or family on the island, please kind of keep Eric and I updated. And in the comments, we want to make sure if you have friends or family down there that they are safe. Obviously, we know this will take probably years to recover for parts of the island that
Yeah.
see the strongest of the winds, but we know people. All people are resilient when it comes to a lot of these weather disasters. So it's just surviving them and then getting the help in that is needed.
Yeah. All right. All right, Jeremy. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time today.
All right. From Savannah, Georgia, I'm WJCL 22 Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Nelson.
And from cloudy but calm Central Florida, I'm WESH 2 meteorologist Eric Burke.